Hello everyone, it's Robert at the Sampleist, and today we'll be checking out New Orleans Brass 2 Second Line Brass Band by Insanity Samples. New Orleans Brass 2 is the next chapter in their Second Line collection, bringing that NOLA brass band feel. It consists of 2 trumpets, 2 trombones, a bari sax, a sousaphone, and a percussion rig, and uses their very organic and lifelike playing engine. Each instrument was recorded with 3 different mics: dynamic mics, ribbon mics, and pencil mics. The cost of New Orleans Brass 2 is $189 US. The installed size of all the files is 5.66 gigs and requires the full version of Contact 5 or higher. In this video, we'll be going through some of the presets of New Orleans Brass 2, do an overview of the library, and a composition. We'll hear this groovin' library in context. A big shout out, by the way, to Insanity Samples for letting us check out the New Orleans Brass 2 library at no charge. Even so, they're in no way influencing my thoughts and opinions on this video. With all that said, let's go. Alright, so let's get right into it. We have the Trumpet 1 patch open for the New Orleans Brass 2 library. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the different articulations here, and maybe even go through some of the mic positions for the instruments as we go. And what I'm going to do, as usual, is I'm going to go through the different articulations and instruments, and then I will come back and tell you what I'm thinking, what I'm hearing. So let's go right into it. So you could hear a difference here with the different mic positions here. They are panned a bit differently. So if you want them all to be in the same part of the stereo spectrum, you could always just line them up. And then you could just pan them however you wish in your DAW and whatnot. I really like how this sounds. The way they have it panned out of the box gives you a fuller round sound. So let's keep going. Check out the second trumpet a little bit. The articulations will be the same, but of course, like with a different player, there's some differences, especially since it's most likely a different trumpet. Something I'm noticing that's really cool is with this interface here, it's really cool to be able to go back and forth between staccato and the longs when you have it programmed that way. So you could have that really fast movement from note to note, and then you could just land on the longs and continue on your way down a nice legato line. So let's keep going. I'm really liking how this ribbon mic sounds on all these instruments. Brass usually does really well with a ribbon mic. I've never really considered recording brass with the pencil mics, but I could see a lot of why someone would do that. I really think that layers well, especially with something like the ribbon mic. So let's check out trombone 2 real quick and then move on. I really like how that's sounding. So something you probably saw with the Barry sax that I almost forgot to play, honestly, is that this section here was colored. Purple, some green and whatnot. And so that is the effects area there for the saxophone here. And it really is cool to have some nice fun effects, especially if you want to like have something cool sounding in the middle of a piece or even at the end, which is what I like to do. Just have it end in a cool, fun way of musicians messing around. I really like that. All right. Now let's go to the sousaphone and then the percussion. So last but not least is the percussion. So yeah, that about covers it for this library as a whole when it comes to the articulations. So next, we'll go to the UI. So for the UI, this basically covers the same type of interface that you'll see with a lot of this company's other libraries. I have to say, Insanity Samples really does a cool job of making an interface that makes things seem more lifelike. As you see here, we have our matrix of articulations and we can have it set to a range of velocity. So let's play around here and you'll see what I mean. So as you can see, I have this at its preset here for performance 1. And as you saw this little indicator here go slide up and down, I basically had different articulations playing based on how hard I hit the key. And then on the left here, you have these buttons here for true legato, if you want it to just be strictly legato. And then you have your legato type down here, which leads to this really cool function over here, which is the adaptive slider. You can have this assigned to any MIDI CC you want, though keep the expression alone for what you have there, which is to the mod wheel. So with this adaptive slider, this will be either based on your velocity or the speed that you play. And if you want it to be fixed, just always a fast transition from note to note. You could just leave it here. If you want to always be a slow transition from note to note, you can bring it down here. But then, if you have it in the adaptive speed or velocity, this takes us to our threshold. And for the threshold, if it's on the adaptive speed, anything that's higher than a certain speed will cause this threshold to go play a faster note. But if you play very slowly, or go below the threshold, I should say, it'll do a slow transition, which you heard me do a number of times in the first part of the video. Next is the velocity. Same thing here with the threshold. You go higher than 60, then what you'll get is a faster transition. Lower than 60 is a slower transition from note to note. But then you see this over here. Currently, this is set to a normal threshold. Going higher is faster, lower is slower. If I press this button, then it becomes vice versa. And from my understanding, why that's like that is if you have different articulations, if you have an articulation you like to use that's further up, then it would be good to have this threshold so that way you can have the transitions happen how you'd like them without having to leave a threshold velocity range in the matrix. However, if you have it all like this, instead of an overlaying, then you could just leave it as so, or do speed, or whatever you'd like. Next, we have our scaling. So that is more or less for things like falls, grace notes, things like that. So that way it's within the key that you'd like and the key that you're playing in. This over here, as you saw, change it to the key switches, or you could set it to overlaying, which has the abilities for you to adjust the matrix. And then we have our two performance presets, which is very cool to have. So that way if you like the presets, you can keep them. If not, then you could just save your own snapshots to make that easier. We have our expression slider, which I showed before. It's connected to the mod wheel. You can enable and disable the key switches down here. And for instruments like the bari sax, you'll see a switch there to enable and disable the effects that I played earlier. Next is this button, which will show you everything you need to learn about this whole library, which is something you don't really see from many developers, if any others that I know of, and I think that's sweet. So next we have the mixer, which shows the different microphones and the levels, the pan, and then you can toggle them on and off. And then we have our effects, You can adjust the stereo spread, mess around with that if you'd like, adjust the panning, overall, your delay and your reverb. Got some nice looking reverbs over here. The wooden room seems like it could be a fun reverb to mess with. Though I think I'd be a fan of the cathedral. Next is our EQ, which is very well laid out here. I think that's really sweet. And it tells you the frequency that it controls. You have your output, general output over here. You can also adjust the Q for the high mid frequencies and the low mid frequencies. And before I forget, it also shows you what notes will be played over here, as well as key switches, effects, and whatnot all over here. So it's kind of nice that they have that. I kind of think that's a cool touch. So if you see the key there, press down there. If there's ever a glitch and it's not showing, then you have this nice color-coded map over here. I think that's cool. So yeah, that does it for the UI here. I think it's really sweet. I think at first, if you don't know what's happening, it might look confusing. But when you take some time to really mess around with it or look at the videos of this, you really see how cool this is. They really put a lot of effort into this whole UI, this whole setup. And it just sounds phenomenal to me. So next, we'll head off to the composition. I hope you like it. So my final thoughts on this library is that it's a lot of fun to use. You can have a really dry sound, which I really like to use, or you can really put it through some nice reverb in the library itself and be able to use it in various ways. You basically have a number of solo instruments here that use that awesome engine that makes it really lifelike, really fun, really cool. And I could see this being used not only for this line brass band type of feel, but for other uses too. I really think it's going to be something I'll be using more often than I thought I would. So yeah, please like this video and subscribe to the Sampleist, and comment below what you think of this library, how you use this library, how you feel about even New Orleans music. I remember hearing brass bands there, and they was a lot of fun to listen to. So yeah, happy writing everyone.